What's going on, YouTube family? Farley here to do a kind of serious video tonight. Um, I've tried to do a video several times this week on this topic, and I've just stopped and deleted it, and I, I, I don't know if this one will go through or not. I guess we'll see, but it's something that's been troubling me now for a few days, and I actually come across a video tonight from the Vinyl Potato, which is a really cool channel. Great tasting music, does concert reviews. So if you're not subscribed to Vinyl Potato, go do that. But he talked about several things, several records and things that he had picked up. But one of the things he talked about was these revelations that have come out in the last week or so about Ryan Adams. Now, for those of you that don't know Ryan Adams, it's not Brian. It's not the Canadian Brian Adams. It's the American Ryan Adams, which I'm a huge fan of. If you've been watching my channels, you know that I upload a lot of Ryan Adams stuff. I own just about all of his albums. I've even been to like 4 shows, I think. Got autographed picture. I've been a huge fanboy of Ryan Adams since the 90s. He started out in a punk band in the early 90s in North Carolina called the Patty Duke Syndrome, and then kind of took a new direction, went alt country with his band Whiskey Town, which is where I started following his career, and then he went solo with his first album called Heartbreaker. And I've been following him since probably 97, 98, somewhere in there. Anyway, so I've been a fan of his, huge fan of his for a long time. Now let me preface that with this. I'm able to differentiate Ryan Adams the artist from Ryan Adams the human being. And from all indications that I have heard and read, he has a long history of being an asshole, of being a jerk. And I know that. And so I've never put him like up on a pedestal. But I do enjoy his music, his lyrical style, and the emotion that he kind of puts into it have kind of always been a trademark. Another thing I like about him is he's never, even though he's done mostly alt country or acoustic, acoustic rock, he takes chances. He does this whole album called Rock and Roll, which is heavy, and then he did a metal album, and then he covered 1989 by Taylor Swift, which I'm not a fan of. But I've always appreciated that he takes risks. But in the music industry, in terms of just, a person, he's had a lot of clashes over the years with different people, from the Strokes to someone that reviews albums for the New York Times. And he's always had like little feuds with people. And so that is something I've always known about him, and I've not enjoyed that aspect of him. But I did go to shows, did buy his albums, because there's a lot of artists that are assholes but still make good music. Now, cut to last week. Huge bombshell come out. New York Times says 5 or 6 women have all kind of said the same thing, including Mandy Moore, the actress and musician. They were married for, 5 or 6 years, and have all kind of said really pretty horrible things about how he treated them in their relationship. Very manipulative. I can't say that word. He manipulated them, and used almost like emotional blackmail. Like, I think Mandy Moore said, like, if she were to go to the studio, or if she tried doing something to advance her career, that he would threaten, like, if she didn't come home, he'd kill himself and stuff like that. So, and it's not just one person saying that; it's several. I know Mandy Moore, whom they're divorced, and then a fiance, and then several other female artists. And it's either, if they were in a relationship, he was controlling and domineering and all these emotionally would blackmail them, or if they told him they didn't want to have a relationship with him, then he wouldn't help them in their career. So there was 2 or 3 artists, female artists, that were up and coming, and had met Ryan Adams, and they were big fans of his. And he would tell them things like he would help their career, he would advance their career, he'd let them open shows for him, those kind of things. And then if they didn't return, like if they didn't want to have a intimate relationship with him, then he would just drop them. So those are the allegations that come out last week. And then also the biggest allegation is from a 14-year-old whom the New York Times identified as Ava, that he had had sent her inappropriate messages over the years. I think she's 20 now. So this would have been when she was 14, allegedly. So it would have been about 6 years ago. So I don't know if that's while he was with me anymore or after they had divorced. But anyway, she was an artist, looked up to him, and somehow she tweeted or something like that and caught his eye, and they started communicating in private, and then according to her, it escalated. So all that being said, I don't know what's true, what's made up, if any of it is. Supposedly, the New York Times has at least some of the messages between Ryan Adams and the 14-year-old Ava, and I think the FBI is investigating that. So all that, everything I'm saying is if it's accurate. And again, I try not to convict someone without all the information, but at this point, it's very, very troubling. I think one of the messages the New York Times is saying they have in their possession, he told the 14-year-old Ava that if people knew what I was saying to you, they would think I'm R. Kelly. And it just blows my mind because I never thought of Ryan Adams could do anything like that, like inappropriately with underage women. I guess maybe that happens a lot, where you find something out about someone and it shocks you, because I've always thought of Ryan Adams as somewhat of a jerk, and immature, but I never thought about him as like that he would have anything inappropriate with a minor or anything. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. When you follow someone's career, you almost think like them pretty well. Like if you really are into their music and you read up on them and read articles about them and things like that. I guess the difference between me and some people is I've never put Ryan Adams up on a pedestal like some people do with musicians or athletes. I've always put his music up there as being very, very important in my life. But I've always known that Ryan Adams had issues, whether it be drugs or whatever. I've always known that you don't admire the person in this regard, just the music. So I was always able to differentiate between the music and Ryan Adams, the person, and his faults. And we all have faults. But I really thought he had matured. Supposedly he had quit using drugs. He would stop smoking and was doing well. His music seems to have matured over the last few albums. It's like he found his niche with this acoustic, rock-driven music that he's been releasing lately. And so I really thought he had finally matured, put it together, and had found, what he was going to do, because he was born the day after me, same year. He was born November 5th, 1974. I was born November 4th, 1974. So I've always had like this affinity with Ryan Adams. It's weird. But he would be 44 like me. And at that stage in your life, you would think, okay, you need to find out who you are as an artist. And he'd always experiment with different sounds, which I enjoyed. But a few years ago, it just seemed like everything clicked, and we had the Ryan Adams that had matured, and you weren't reading about him in the paper anymore, and he wasn't the asshole anymore that everybody had thought he was, and had changed, had kicked drugs, all this stuff. And then the first crack in that was about 6 months ago. Members of the Strokes accused him of taking Albert Hammond, and causing him to relapse. Now, again, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I think that was the accusation. And there was a lot of back and forth between Ryan Adams and the members of the Strokes. And so you're like, I hope he's not slipping back into his old ways. Well, then a few more months go by, you don't hear anything else, and you assume he's, doing well. And then last week, this New York Times expose about his relationship with Mandy Moore and these other women and the 14-year-old, and you're like, holy cow. Again, I'm not somebody's going to convict him without having all, the evidence. It's still in the court of public opinion. But if the New York Times has those messages and they're legit, and these women, are all telling the truth about it, and again, it would be quite odd that 6 different women would kind of say the same thing about him, and at least some of it not be true. But again, I still want to wait and let them sort out how much of this is fact and how much of this was, fiction. And maybe none of it's fiction. Maybe it's all true. I don't know. But my response to that is I never put artists up on a pedestal. That way, if they fall, and it doesn't affect me because I'm in it for the music that they make and not them as a person. If that makes sense. So it's not the person. It's not Ryan Adams up on the pedestal. It's some of his music, some of his great albums he's done. He's a tremendous artist. Lyrically, he writes lyrics that a lot of people identify with. And then you almost feel like it's a betrayal when you hear this that come out recently. Like, did you really feel all that? That you were putting into your music, or did you know it would sell albums, or did you think it would help you get women, the compassionate male that understands, emotionally, people that have been hurt and those kind of things? Are you preying on people's emotions to sell records? I don't know. But I'm not going to burn all my Ryan Adams records and my autograph. And if he's done that, I would not support any new music. If it's proven, I wouldn't buy any new music if it's ever released again. Again, if it's true, he may never see the light of day in terms of releasing another album. Probably wouldn't tour, but if he did, I wouldn't go see him. But I'm not gonna get rid of all my old records and things. Those have been a part of my life. His music has been a part of my life for a long time, a huge part. And emotionally, I'm bonded to some of these songs because of what they meant to me at a certain time in my life and a way that I was feeling at the time. And whether that's genuine from Ryan Adams or not, I still identify with those lyrics he wrote. He may not have meant them. I don't know. He may not have been feeling that way. He may have been just making, lyrics because he thought, that if he wrote this certain way, it'd sell records, and he didn't really feel that way. And so it's almost like a betrayal to me lyrically that did he really ever feel this way when he wrote this song? Or was there something else going on, in his mind? Basically, did he manipulate me with his lyrics as well? You know what I mean? Like as a fan. Because like I said, there's so many of his songs that I identify with and have helped me through some hard times. And so no, I wouldn't get rid of his albums and all that, but I wouldn't support him if accurate. If the information, again, this is very troubling information. I have no reason to doubt it's not true, but I got to see more, and I'd like to see this FBI investigation carried out. But I need to know more before I just go and just totally write him off, in the future. But even if the other the emotional stuff and the manipulation and things that the 6 or 7 women accuse him of, even if that wasn't true, but the information about the 14-year-old was, I would have no reason to ever buy another album or see him live or anything. I wouldn't support him in any way financially going forward. But no, I'm not going to get rid of my old records and never listen to him again. It's just his music, whether it was fake or whether it was real from his standpoint, it affected me. in a way that means a lot to me, a lot of his music. And so I would hold on to his own music. I would still listen to his old music, but that would be for me, not for him, if that makes sense. What it means to me. If it was never honest, if the lyrics and the songs that he sang, he didn't really feel, I felt them. And I think at the end of the day, I bought the record, and what does the music mean to me? If it didn't mean shit to Ryan Adams when he wrote it, other than this is going to sell me records or this is going to get me girls or whatever, if that's why he wrote it, that's on him. But the importance is what it meant to me. And so I would hold on to it. But if I heard new songs now and I knew some of this or all this information is true, I wouldn't be able to listen to a song now and feel like it's genuine, if that makes sense. Like I would feel like this is just crap to sell records now. He doesn't really feel this deeply, and he hasn't been through this before. Matter of fact, if what he says is true about the manipulation and the other things from the women, if that's all true, he's actually the bad person in the songs he wrote. Because if he's talking about getting hurt or something, he seems to me that he's more of the one in the songs he wrote hurting the other person. So I don't know. Very, very troubling. I'm gonna let it play out more, see what the investigations reveal. But if proven, especially with the 14-year-old girl, then no, I won't support his career anymore financially. But I'm not going to go back and get rid of his old stuff. It means too much to me. Whether it meant anything to him doesn't matter anymore. It's what it means to me. So that's my thoughts on it. So if you sat through all of this, I appreciate you listening, and let me know what you think. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye out.